Welcome. My name is Rob Miller, and today we've got an interesting conversation planned. I'm joined by Corey Bell of BuildingPoint Mid-America and our own Chris Hawkins to talk a little bit about VDC services. Corey, Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
So let's start off by talking a little bit about what VDC services is.
VDC stands for Virtual Design and Construction. That service is where we're providing the ability to create 3D models from 2D prints or help manage somebody else's 3D drawings to help them implement or augment their existing teams.
Okay, and what type of services are included in VDC services?
We do several different services, but to hit on a few of them, specifically we can do 3D laser scanning or scanning as a service. We can do project coordination as well as facilities management or FMBIM.
Modeling is another major service, whether it's generating new models or helping them utilize their existing models, and quality assessment of those models to see how well they move down the pipeline is another service.
Okay, so let's start to drive into these individually. You mentioned 3D laser scanning, so dig in a little bit and unpack what that might mean.
So what that would mean is for 3D laser scanning, as far as the BDC services side, everybody knows we're tied to all of the Trimble equipment and different Trimble pieces for laser scanning. What we can do is we can actually provide that laser scan. So if somebody does not own a laser scanner and they don't want to buy it for one specific project, we can help them by coming out, rent technician and the operator, and we can do the scan for them to create the point cloud. If they only need the point cloud, we can stop it at that. If they need that point cloud generated into a solids model that they're going to pull into some design authoring software, we can do that. We can also take it all the way a step further and bring it into making it a real building information model.
So specifically related to modeling, whether it's from a point cloud or otherwise, tell us a little bit about the modeling services that can be offered.
Sure, there's a whole series of services regarding modeling, whether it starts with your typical rendering. So you essentially model just the various needs for essentially the exterior skin. So you get a visualization, helps with business development and whatnot. You can start from just your 2D plans and actually generate a model from that regard, because lots of times people are still not dealing with a model until it gets into that rendering stage. You can deal with coordination, so you actually have the various systems of the project modeled, and you want to clarify that they actually work well together. And then the further you get down into this deeper aspect of modeling, you end up being able to take a full 4D aspect where you're actually watching the project come together in an animation.
Gotcha. Now, regarding model quality, you mentioned there was some quality assessment that can be done as well? Sure.
I mean, typically you want to verify what the full need of the model is so you can truly target how much you need to model. But our assessment process really helps kind of define any existing models, how well they're truly developed for that end goal. So we really just verify what's there and how much needs to be embellished on it to move it forward.
Okay. Now, I'll go back to you, Corey. Project coordination. What can we do to provide contractors some assistance in this realm?
So with project coordination, what we should do there is if we've already done 3D coordination and all the building systems are designed to fit together, a lot of teams will stop it short there. With project coordination, we can implement and make sure that, yes, in fact, it was put there. It's another perk to us working with Trimble hardware is we've got the ability for our layout systems to also record data and push that back into the model. So we can truly make things an as-built model with that information. And by doing that, we can track any issues, we can manage all the documents that go on throughout that process and project to help that project team run that project. So they can run people and not run sources.
Okay, now everything we've talked about so far has really been pre-construction or construction. What about the operational handover side of this?
So the operational handover on any given construction project, the project team hands over a massive amount of information between product data, warranty letters, information specific about the light fixtures and the plumbing fixtures and things like that. Again, if we go back to we've got a federated model that's got all this information in it, it'd be so much easier to grab that information and load that into that model. So then in the future, you've now got a model that has all the tangible data in it. So when the next iteration of design comes around for that facility, you've got true as-built information that is truly, for once, as-built information that you can click on and you can see what you've got, as well as helping the facility and the owners manage that process and that project. How often do they change light bulbs? Why are they changing them so often? All that data being in one repository would make it a heck of a lot easier for that team.
Okay, great. Now, Chris, let me go back to you. So these types of services, do these tend to be project-based, or is this something where a contractor might enter into a long-term relationship with BuildingPoint to get these services?
Well, that's a good question. It's a pretty good overlap. It really just depends on where the contractor is coming from, whether they have any internal staffing for a BIM department themselves, or whether they have a well-staffed BIM department, but they're just completely flooded and they need some overflow service from us.
Okay, now what stage in the project, I think I might know your answer, but what stage in the project do we want to get involved with these types of services?
Well, really, it's always as early as possible. I mean, there's loads of questions to ask. There's lots of details that no one really ever thinks about as far as needing coordination. But yeah, it's truly as early on as the process because everything has a good chunk of time associated to it, and you want to get ahead of things so the schedule you're not extending the project schedule. So.
What is the real benefit here? Why would contractors want to get into a relationship with BuildingPoint for this type of work?
That's a good question, and Chris kind of hit on that with his statement of either helping an existing BIM manager or if that company does not have a BIM manager. Not all companies have the ability to have the resource available that they can just direct and punt, this guy's going to take care of it or this person's going to take care of it. Some people don't have that person that has that experience. That's what we bring to the table. But at the same time, those teams that have that person, have that experience, a lot of times that person or that group gets oversold. So they need help. We can be their quick deployment team to come help them with fixing those issues, getting them through those issues and work them through that. On top of that, why us? We've got the experience, we've got the means and methods, but then on top of that, we've also got an emergency button that we can deploy where we've got Trimble's team behind us that has completed over 600 projects doing this exact same service. So that's why I choose us, because we can do it and we can do it well.
That's great. Now, how does a contractor get started with us?
To get started with us, send us over the information, let us look through it. We can put together proposals and really kind of drive it home and make it specific to that project. It's not just a canned spec that this is going to cost X dollars. We do it on typically like a time and material process, but we put together a proposal based on that.
Right, and just to reiterate Corey's point, it's a custom solution. It's not just this is what we do, this is what you get, the same exact thing every time. It's an investigation, it's a knowledge dump, it's a discovery process. We want to give you exactly what you need.
Well, guys, this has been very informative. I really appreciate both of you taking the time to join us here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about VDC services, contact your local BuildingPoint representative, and be sure to connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. On behalf of everyone here at BuildingPoint, thanks for watching.